Dr. Sylvia Earle spent decades exploring the oceans as an oceanographer. Welcome to Earth X, Dr. Earle.
Great to be on board.
So the oceans, of course, that's most of the planet, as we don't realize, because they're always thinking and traveling, the lands.
We are terrestrial by nature.
We are, yes, there we are. We're not fish. But then you've decided a long time ago that you were going to focus on the oceans. May I first ask you, why did you do that?
Why not? I mean, why isn't everybody? After all, it's 97% of the biosphere, that is where life on Earth exists. It's where the water is. 97% of Earth's water is ocean. The rest is largely locked up in polar ice, lakes, river streams, clouds, but it's a tiny fraction of Earth's water. I mean, there's water beneath the bottom, tied up in rocks, but I mean the available living space where Earth exists, where life exists, it's mostly ocean. So why aren't we paying more attention? I suppose, we just don't know the ocean.
But you were, a young scientist at one point in time, and you had to make a choice. What am I going to do? So why did you choose the oceans?
I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do with whatever. But the ocean has such appeal. Most humans now, if they are attracted to the ocean, to water, it's mainly the surface. We are not equipped like fish to be able to breathe underwater. We are susceptible to pressure and cold. Most of life on Earth lives in the dark, below where sunlight shines, and it is cold. The deeper you go down, it doesn't get to freezing, because if water freezes, it turns to ice, and ice floats. So it gets pretty close to freezing near the bottom of the ocean. Even in the tropics, it's really cold at great depths. But life on Earth likes it that way. We are the exception. Terrestrial life occupies just a small piece of what the action that governs planetary security, the chemistry, the temperature, all of the factors that over billions of years has made Earth habitable for us.
What is the thing, if there is such a thing, that you have learned, the most important thing you have learned in all those years exploring the oceans?
That's such an easy question. It's the magnitude of our ignorance.
Okay, there we are.
No, seriously, we've learned more, literally, since the middle of the 20th century, when scuba diving began to take off, when technology really began to come into focus about using submersibles, using other technologies, even sonar, to be able to use sound, to be able to see, like dolphins and some whales have done throughout their entire history, or bats and other creatures that use sound to reflect back where the sound strikes objects and then is received with images that we record electronically, but bats and whales, dolphins somehow have a way to see with sound. I wish I could see what they see, know what they know, but we can extrapolate from what we're able to now do that no one could do before the middle of the 20th century, or to see the ocean high in the sky, or to be deep within the ocean. It's only since 1960 that the first descent to the deepest part of the ocean, 11 kilometers, 7 miles down, it was even before the first footprints were on the moon. But before people, as many as a dozen people have been to the moon. But, by 2012, only 2 people had been to the deepest part of the ocean. Then James Cameron came along, solo dive, followed more recently. His dive was 2012. And then Victor Vescovo Actually, not a scientist, although he certainly is savvy about science, but an astute businessman who really commissioned the design of a submarine that could go to full ocean depth for two people. He took it by himself on the first couple of dives, but since then has been taking others. So more people, more than twice as many people now, have been to the deepest part of the ocean than have been to the moon. What have we learned with instrumentation, with communication, with the ability now to go into the ocean, not just for exploitation, but for exploration? And what have we learned? The magnitude of what we don't know. We're just beginning to appreciate who lives in the ocean, how they interact, how life in the sea affects the chemistry of the planet, affects climate, the carbon cycle. I mean, climate scientists say, well, follow the carbon. Where does it take you? It takes you to trees, into the soil, but mostly it takes you into the ocean.
So I was going to go there because lots of people talk about sustainability today and how we solve the problem of climate change, etc. And then we talk indeed about trees. We talk about land. Should we talk about the oceans instead?
Fundamentally, we can't understand climate just based on terrestrial calculations. The ocean dominates climate. Really, if you think about the temperature that is shaped by the ocean. Without the ocean, well, first of all, there'd be no life, there'd be no us. Nothing to talk about, let alone climate. It's the water cycle, it's the carbon cycle, it's the oxygen cycle, it's all of this. The principal driver of planetary security is what we put into the ocean, what we take out of the ocean. It's maintaining the integrity of the systems that make Earth habitable. We're pushing the envelope on many fronts, but nowhere are we putting ourselves more at risk than by changing the chemistry of the ocean through acidification. Excess carbon dioxide becomes carbonic acid. The ocean has really taken up a lot of CO2 excess that we have created by burning fossil fuels and forests and other ways that we've been changing atmospheric chemistry, but it's directly related to ocean chemistry as well. But that's just the beginning. By taking so much life out of the ocean, subsidizing the extraction of ocean wildlife by the ton, we call it seafood, we call it fisheries, we call it looking at the ocean as a source of money, products, without really understanding that, like trees, maintain the security by their role in the chemistry of the planet and the water cycle and all the other cycles of nature. But it's the ocean that we have taken so much, like the term is defaunation. We've taken the animals. About half of what was there when I was a kid, when I first began diving in the 1950s. We're so good. The technology that has given us so much information that we now understand what we know and also what we don't know, but has been used. Well, Rachel Carson back in the 70s says we're waging war on nature, waging war on the ocean, waging war on the whales, on the tunas, on the shrimp, on the krill in the Antarctic waters, on cod and herring and all the other creatures. They don't wish us any harm. But from their standpoint, what have we done to humans? Why are they just annihilating us, taking so much, thinking that we can do it sustainably? But we haven't figured that out yet. I was the chief scientist of NOAA in the 1990s, and it just occurred to me that we know how to kill, capture, find, capture, and market ocean life. But we haven't figured out, really, how to do it on a scale that enables there to be a commercial kind of extraction, converting nature into wealth. We've gone so far beyond what was possible 1,000 years ago or 500, even 100 years ago, when our numbers were smaller. I've seen population quadruple on my watch.
Do you still eat fish?
Does Jane Goodall eat chimpanzees? Like, no way I could eat a fish. No. I know too much.
Yes.
I know who they are. Yeah. Come on. We just treat them as products.
Yeah.
We used to treat birds as products. You know, we exterminated the passenger pigeon. We exterminated so many species because we could only see them through the lens of how can we use them for money? How can we turn nature into profit? And there's a certain, natural resources. They're there for everyone to use for free. Fish have an accounting base of 0 when they're swimming in the ocean. They're only valuable to us when they're dead. How can that be? That a live tree or a live fish is more valuable dead than alive? Have you ever tried to make one from scratch? 1,000-year-old tree? 100-year-old whale? I mean, we've just got to get our heads on straight. It's one thing when nature is like this and we're like this, but now we've populated a planet on a scale, one species, that is taking from nature disproportionately from everybody else. And imagine if we didn't know, we would continue doing the same approach, just consuming nature, turning nature into money, wealth, not realizing that the greatest value, first, all creatures convert nature to sustain themselves. But no creature has been as greedy, taking on a scale, and so quickly, from the 1950s to now. Just look at the measures. Here's where forests have gone. Here's where coral reefs have gone. Half gone. Mm-hmm. Sharks, 90% gone. When you think, how can one species
do that? Yeah.
Have such influence over the nature of nature? And knowing this, using our brain and our survival instincts, it would be, and I'm encouraged because I do see, like this conference, Earth X, how do we value nature for more than products? How do we see nature as our life support system? And how Earth and all of the universe, this is a remarkable, miraculous place, just right for us, but only just right for us in the last 10,000 years or so, when after 4.5 billion years of, the chain turning rocks and water into this vibrant, living planet. And it's taken us, 4.5 decades to take this perfect world for us and turning it into a place that's no longer as habitable. Imagine if we didn't know. Yeah. Still got a chance.
Is there a place for something like, for instance, sustainable fish farms in your thinking?
I haven't found one yet, but I'm optimistic that when we really account for nature properly, that we may understand the cost. Right now, we still look at nature as free. We can go into the ocean, don't have to pay tax on the real estate, the aquatic real estate. It's false accounting. We're displacing part of our life support system, this finely interactive, we're just beginning to see how in soil there are creatures, microbes, fungi, the roots of the trees and other terrestrial, vegetation. It's all connected in this amazing network of life that we haven't really we're just beginning to understand how the chemistry of the planet is influenced by what's under our feet, and how much we've paved over, and how much we've corrupted through just our disregard for the natural vegetation, not understanding how valuable it is in terms of the basics. Like, you like to breathe? Yeah. Fundamental.
Ideally clean air.
You like water falling out of the sky on more or less a regular basis, so you can plan when to put crops. And oh, by the way, that about half of the arable land on Earth has already been converted to grow food for one species, displacing everybody else for our benefit, but in the process, not realizing that we're putting at risk our survival by diminishing the fabric of life.
There are too many of us.
Well, there is that. There are limits to how many of any species that a life support system. How many people could you cram into a spacecraft?
Yeah.
That has to be self-contained. Earth is our spacecraft in a universe that is really not very friendly. I mean, we will decide those issues, or nature will.
That's what I'm thinking. I mean, nature has traditionally, historically, taken care of these imbalances, right?
Well, the difference, the cool thing about being a human is that we have choices.
Yes.
What is the future we want? I mean, it's quality over quantity. I will never tell anybody how many kids they should have or not have. But you can make a choice based on your world and the big picture. You understand that this is a moment in time when we have so many options open to us based on knowledge that could not exist when I was a child. So the kids of today coming along have a jump start. They know what Earth looks like from space. They have seen people on the other side of the planet and can speak with them. We have this instant feedback. We have now 8 billion brains, as well as 8 billion bodies. And we ought to be able to figure it out so that we can have a good and prosperous, enduring future based on knowing that leads to caring, that leads to actions. And what I've been focused on much of my life, once I understand, and I'm still learning every day new things, but we have to take care of nature if we are going to prosper, let alone survive. And the national parks, protected areas, best idea America ever had, some say. And now taking that idea into the ocean, I went to NOAA to be the chief scientist, in part lured there because that's where the National Marine Sanctuary Program got its start in the 1970s, 72, when that legislation was enacted, 100 years after the first global ocean expedition, 1872, the Challenger expedition. We didn't even know we still don't know what's in the ocean, but we're getting so much better doing so.
I hear your optimism ultimately, which is encouraging. Where does that come from?
Well, imagine the alternative. If you think that no change in a positive way is possible, we'll never get anywhere. You focus on what is possible. And, it's alarming to me that, this is Earth X conference. It's the day after Earth Day. And today it was announced that the Department of Interior, the management is basically being turned over to the Department of Government Efficiency, which means public lands, the exclusive economic zone that under the Bureau of Land Management, whatever it is, public jurisdiction that is largely a source of maintaining the integrity of this fabric of life that really got a jump start in the 1970s when the first Earth Day really recognition. We've got to protect nature because it's money in the bank. It's our life in the bank. And again, it's in some ways a starting point, but it hasn't stopped the degradation of forests, the degradation of water, degradation of the atmosphere, and certainly we've lost more in the ocean than ever before from the 1970s to the present time, because we have technology to find, capture, and serve international markets with subsidized efforts to underpin the extraction of ocean wildlife. That's all the wild animals in the ocean. So they've been going like this.
Yeah.
Or our bank accounts have been going like that in terms of capitalizing in a monetary way on nature, dead nature.
Yeah.
But we've lost, we haven't accounted for the loss. It's a pretty good business strategy if you don't have to account for the costs of your products.
What has been your best moment in the oceans?
It's out there. I'm always looking for it. It's always good. It's going to get better. Down into the sea.
Thank you, Dr. Earle. Down into the sea. Thank you for your work.